I went digging for buried treasure, and all I found was fragments of silicon.
All right, welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon Daylight interviews. Also, I think we finally sorted out the audio issues we've been having until lately.
At least partially.
I mean, to a certain extent, it seemed like a fan was getting caught on a microphone. Like, I'm guessing we're still getting some interference.
It's mostly when someone else talks more loudly than usual, I think.
Well, further tweaking probably needs application here, but we don't really have the time for it. Anyway, joining us this week is Stefan Sava of Shadebob Games.
Yes, hello.
Yes. Right. How are you doing tonight? Or today, sorry.
Yeah, it's day over here. I'm doing pretty good, thank you.
Yeah. Fair enough. Usually our guests, when we broadcast at this time, are from Europe, so there. But we do occasionally get the North American guests. Sorry about that. Anyway, so how we like to get started is we like to get to know the person behind the games, the studio, and whatnot. And we start with this particular question: what got you interested in video games, both on a personal and a professional level?
Well, I've like since when I was little, I loved games. Like from the moment I actually played a computer game, it was like the greatest thing ever. And I didn't have access to a computer myself, so I used to like play at a friend's house when he was available. And then in my free time, I used to kind of try to draw the games I was playing, because I've always been more artistic or with the drawing. So that's kind of how it started, but that was a really long time ago. And if I fast forwarded like university, I graduated arts in painting, and then because I had no money, I started doing graphic design. And then after a really long time, I actually considered doing graphics for games. And that's pretty much how it started.
All right. And I suppose the follow-up question is, when did you start doing, the graphical design for, professional work? Like, did it start with Shadebob?
No, it was like I think 10 years ago, but I've always been freelancing, and I kept finding little projects here and there, and I've worked on a couple of games that are on Steam, but I wasn't in Shadebob Games back then. I was just doing freelancing for all sorts of projects. Yeah, that's basically it.
And any sorts of projects, of the freelance variety that you wish to mention?
I have to I have to check my list because I don't remember them.
That's fine. That's fine. I mean, 10 years was quite a while ago.
Yeah, so there are like Steam games. There is a game, the most recent one is called Idle Expanse. You can find it on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
And previous games were Immortal Planet and Omnipresent. So these games, I made the graphics for them. And I also worked on multiple smaller games back when Flash games were a thing. And browser games, I think. I worked on a couple of those as well.
Okay. And I suppose getting to the main event, as it were, how did you end up working at or with Shadebob?
Um, yeah. So Shadebob basically was Yannick Bourbeau, who's the guy who makes the code, the programmer. And he basically made Infinite Trap the first version. He just made it by himself. I think it may even be the first game he made. I'm not exactly sure, but I think so. And I just found him. He posted his game on a Facebook group, like on a developer group, and I found it there, and I tried it out, and I really liked it. And I thought I could help him with the graphics. The graphics seemed like they could use some improving. He he did a pretty good job at it because he made the graphics himself, like the graphics in the first game.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I just offered to help him out, and I basically started reworking the main character, Ohio Jack. I just made some nicer looking pixel art, and he was pretty happy about the way it looked, but he couldn't really use it in the old game because the overall, like, the whole environment was clashing with the new graphics. So I started tweaking the environment graphics, and then I kept tweaking everything until until we felt like, okay, this could be like a new game and we could improve on it, like the version that he already had, which I think was pretty cool. So
Like,
that's how we started.
were you expecting the reworking to be as expensive as it was at first glance, or?
I think when I first started, I was just imagining like a artwork redo, like just keep the game as it is and just remake the graphics. But as we were changing them, and as I started working on the graphics, I kept getting new ideas, and Yannick also had new ideas, and we were like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we had this or that? And we started tweaking stuff, and I also had like suggestions here and there, and everything. I don't know. It seemed like it could be better or bigger.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you think that the reworking was accomplished?
Yes. Yes. The game is definitely like it's it's I don't know. I like it a lot more than the previous game. Although the previous game also has its charm, but this one is a bit more hardcore, I guess, and faster paced, and well, it also looks cool.
Right.
um,
And I suppose before we delve deeper into the game itself, I do want to address the particular titling of this remake, Rehamstered. Like, are there hamsters in the game?
so it started out as a play on words because we both love puns. But as we were working on it, we thought, okay, we have to add a hamster in the game, and we were thinking about giving him abilities and stuff. But it so there is a hamster in the game, But you don't find him until later in the game. He's actually a character in the story. Like he helps you. Maybe I don't know if I should spoil a lot about what happens, but you do find a hamster at some point. Like I think you pass the midway point of the game. So the game has 30 levels. So it's later in the game.
So about level 15, if we're talking halfway.
Yeah, it's later than that.
Fair enough. Still, I think that was the important part, having a hamster there, because
Yeah,
that definitely would have been a persistent dog,
yeah.
so to speak. Yes, it's
Yeah,
like
I agree. You can't have it in the title and not have it in the game.
yeah.
It would
I'm
be
like,
kind of weird.
yeah, it's like it's either that or you have to explain things over and over again. I've seen that happen elsewhere. Like,
Okay.
anyway,
Yeah,
so
the
yeah,
thing is, it does come kind of late in the game, and people have thought like, well, maybe there is no hamster. Maybe it would have been a better idea to add him faster, but I don't know. Just the way it came out, I guess.
potentially. Anyway, so what is Infinite Trap for those who might not have played the game before? This is their first exposure to.
Okay, so Infinite Trap is a 2D top-down adventure game. I would say it's kind of hardcore and um, platform. Like you have to have good reflexes or good platforming skills to get through a level. Um, mm, should I cover like the thematic side of it or just the
Probably, like, what you're doing in the game and who you are is at least
so
ostensibly.
yeah. So you're basically playing as the second best treasure hunter in the world, whose name is Ohio Jack, and you are trying to find the cup of eternity. That's it's basically like Indiana Jones,
Right,
Uh,
Last Crusade.
what's that? Sorry, I
Uh,
didn't.
yeah, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
so you're basically trying to find the cup of eternity, which grants immortal life. But as you progress, like the first cup you find, it's just a trap, and it brings you deeper and deeper into the dungeon.
Sounds like a quest. Well, probably wouldn't be much of a quest if you could be able to get the cup in the first level.
Yeah.
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 And I think you previously described this version of Infinite Trap as a bit more hardcore than the previous version. Exactly how?
Yeah. So the first element that comes to mind is that the game is way more fast paced than the classic version. So it moves way faster. Um, the other thing is it depends on. There are 3 difficulty modes that you can choose.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if you play on the first 2 modes, it's kind of okay, like it's bearable in a way, because there are a few mechanics that kind of help you to get through a level, like
Uh-huh.
coins give you basically give you health, because if you have coins and you get hit by certain projectiles, instead of dying, you just lose 5 coins each time you get hit. So you can stay alive by collecting coins and keep getting through the levels. But that does not really save you from the spike pits.
No, no. unless you're doing a full-on, say, Dark Souls Shovel Knight punishment system, like it takes the coins away and has them up in a bag, and you can retrieve them if you get there in one life.
Yeah, we don't have that, but I think it's worth mentioning that um, even after release, we did not have the coins mechanic. Like the game was way more hardcore. The first players that actually played the game, they they were like heroes in the dungeons because it was really hard for them to pass even like the first 5 levels. Because each time they got hit by a projectile, they had to restart from either the last checkpoint or the starting thing, and we realized that was a bit too hard for them. So Yannick came up with the idea of using coins to provide some extra, you know, health.
I mean, were people actually complaining about that, or is that something just independently realized?
Some people were complaining. The thing that not all of them were, but the thing that made us try out a new version was the fact that we realized people weren't getting past like 10 levels because it seemed like it was too hard.
Okay, like fair enough, I suppose. I suppose
We
to
have difficulty selection, so you can still play it as hardcore if you want to, but now it's more of a choice instead of being like the norm.
yeah, I'm like I think that's a fair enough uh, compromise to be made. I know like accessibility has been in the discussion of the video game industry in recent times, and how hard is too hard, how easy is too easy is always at the forefront of that. And having adjustable difficulty is always a good compromise, I think. Like, I suppose along those lines, have players been complaining about anything else being too hard that you seek to adjust?
No, they actually, come to think of it, players weren't really complaining about the game as much as they were just like blaming themselves for not being good enough. But since we wanted them to actually experience more of the game, we added the easier versions. Uh, and the fact was that we were kind of blind to the difficulty because of the fact that we played it for so long that we got so used to it we didn't realize how hard it can be for people just starting out.
That is a refrain I've heard before, I've seen
Yeah,
before.
yeah. I know it's kind of a common thing, but it happened to us as well because we
Uh,
didn't have the resources to really test with a lot of other people, and the people we did test with kind of became accustomed to to the game as well. So we
Once
kind of
again,
yeah.
that is something I've heard of quite a bit. It's like it's not just the developers, but the QA testers. Just
Yeah.
running through a game over and over again,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
hours a day for every day. You just can't help but get
Yeah,
better.
you get good at it. Yeah.
Uh, but I suppose it is good that you course corrected on that. And has the feedback been positive?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It has definitely improved like the amount of players that went through the game and the way the players feel about it. It feels like now like the normal mode is kind of closer to what people expect. It's maybe a bit more of a casual ish experience. I still feel like people treat it as hardcore. I mean, they don't expect it to be as difficult. I feel like that's uh, their expectation coming into the game. I guess by the presentation of the game or something, they expect it to be more casual, and then as they play it, they feel like, oh, it's kind of difficult. But you know, for us, it's really easy, and the way it's meant to be played is like on the hardcore mode. And there are some people playing it on the hardcore mode with just a few.
I suppose to flip the coin, so to speak, are there any plans to make this game even more hardcore, like adding a nightmare mode or a mode called hardcore, an extra difficulty level? Like, how could you make the game harder?
Um, well, I'd like to. Like, I enjoy making difficult levels, and I also like I had like a sort of a guilty pleasure just looking at people trying to beat the levels I made and struggling with it. It was like a really fun thing. I don't know why. So yeah, I would definitely love to make it more difficult, but I haven't really like explored this, like how, because I don't think that we've actually maximized the difficulty through level design. I feel like you can make even more difficult levels than what we have. Like what we have is kind of in between. You can have a lot more difficult levels. Like I mean, if you play in hardcore mode and you have no checkpoint, uh, and any mistake is basically you starting again from the start of the whole level. So if you make a really long level with lots of traps, that just exponentially increases the difficulty, you know?
That's certainly one way to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
another is to have the community itself do that.
Yeah.
To that, and is there a level editor in the game, or is there one being
Yes.
planned?
No, yes, there is a level editor, but it's only available on Steam. It's planned for the Xbox as well, but Yannick wasn't able to add it in time for the release because it implied like converting the keyboard to the Xbox thing, and it was a bit more tricky. So there is a level editor, but it's only on the PC right now.
And does that utilize Steam Workshop?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so.
Hmm.
I have no idea. I've used it, but it's like all of it is inside the game. I'm not sure how Steam Workshop works. I should
Fair enough.
probably know stuff, but I'm sorry, I don't.
Okay, fair enough. But that aside, have you experienced any of the user-generated content yet?
No, no. I'm not sure. Last time I checked, there weren't any levels made, and we're not sure why nobody made any levels yet. I know we had some problems, like technical problems with the editor. I can't remember exactly what, because it's been a while since the release, and uh, I don't know. I don't know why people haven't made any levels yet.
I mean, I suppose you could ask.
Yeah, but how do you ask? Like where? Because
Probably
we tried.
the Steam forums, I guess. Like,
Yeah. Good idea.
I mean, on social media, that like
Yeah.
those. Yeah.
Yeah. We've been like, okay, I have to mention this. Like we've been like notoriously bad at promoting and keeping a link
Uh-huh.
outside with the public. I know it's the doom of all game developers if they don't do that, but we didn't do it as well. We were just focused on either the game or because we kind of worked on this part-time.
Mhm.
uh Yannick has a full-time job, and I'm a game developer basically, but I have to work on other projects as well. So
Right.
we didn't really focus on creating a community and talking to people. It was just like whenever we remembered, or so we didn't really do a good job at it. So that's why I'm not really sure even how to address the community. I know at one point we've actually built a community on Game Jolt, but this was before anything, like before we had a sort of a prototype and we were testing it out, and lots of people played it there and gave us a lot of valuable feedback. But it didn't really translate well to Steam because over there it was a free version of the game. It was an earlier version with less stuff. But yeah, that's the place we usually communicated with people and we would get feedback. But then afterwards we didn't get any more like.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, those what I suggested is the first things that come to mind, but I, I guess you could also see if you can reconnect with your Game Jolt audience, potentially.
Yeah, we had some ideas like to try. I think last the last thing we wanted to try, and we're still gonna do it after Yannick is finishing. There are still some porting from for other platforms like planned for the game. So
Mhm.
there's one on sort of a Android arcade thing, and there's another port for the Nintendo Switch that has to be done. And afterwards, we plan on doing like we did on Game Jolt, but for every platform. There's like a monthly challenge where you get a free level each month that you try to beat, so anyone can participate, and then the levels keep changing each month, and that was pretty popular, and players seemed to like it. We also gave away free game keys to the first three people who won on the leaderboards for that month. So that was a really nice thing, and I think we should have kept doing it, but we didn't for some reason. But we're going to try and get it back.
Right.
So that
And
way, we'll hopefully involve more people. Yeah.
right. So something I've been wanting to ask is, are the levels handcrafted or are they procedurally generated?
They're handcrafted. They aren't procedural.
Okay, and that does
So
lead to my next.
yeah.
Um, are there any plans to introduce a randomizer into the game?
Yeah, we wanted to do that. It just became too hard of a problem to solve. And
Mm-hmm.
if you go into the level editor, there is in the menu there is an option to procedurally generate a level, but it only generates a set of empty rooms. So that's the point we got to with procedural generation. We had some plans on how to add traps, like preset kinds of traps inside rooms, but we never got really far with it. So we stopped because we had to focus on more important things to just end the development and make it a finished game. So we just decided to focus on the story progression.
Like that's
So there's no procedural generation now.
that's a fair enough prioritization, I think. Especially if it's not the main mode.
Yeah.
But it does sound like it's something that's going to be added at some point. I suppose.
It feels like it would be a good addition to this game. It feels like it would work nicely.
I mean, I could definitely see it having a positive benefit.
Yeah.
You know, any other modes or options planned for the game at some point?
We no. So we don't have anything concrete. One other idea that I wish we had like the resources and maybe popularity for was my idea was that you could build your own dungeons and basically when you log into the game you can see how many adventurers try to uh, steal from your dungeon and made it to the end. So basically just build your own dungeons and then try to trap adventurers inside. And that would mean like the way I thought about it was that you would earn gold for the time your dungeon is spending. Like, so let's say for each minute you get 1 gold inside your dungeon that's stored at the cup. But if a adventurer reaches the cup, he takes the gold. If he doesn't, you can use that gold to just improve your dungeon, like buy more tiles and add more traps and stuff like that, you know? That's one idea that I thought would be really fun to make, but it's not really planned. I don't know if it's gonna see the light of day. I hope it will.
Have you considered a time trial mode?
Um, Actually, the game does have a timer,
Okay.
so you are basically timed. But in the earlier, like the easier difficulties, like the
Uh-huh.
first difficulty is exactly that you don't have a timer, and the second one is you have a timer, but you have all the death avoidance mechanisms active, so it's easier to pass level. In
Right.
the third difficulty mode, you have no like easy way to avoid death. Anything kills you, and there is a timer, so it's pretty hard. Some levels have like a short time period that you have to get to the cup within that time.
Right. And in terms of computer platforms, is this game available on Windows, Mac and Linux, or just Windows only?
It's on Windows. It's on Linux. Yeah, it's on Linux as well.
Okay. And have you explored other PC storefronts outside of Steam? You know, with this current version, like, do you see this game on, say, GOG or the Epic Game Store?
No, I think so. Yannick was in charge of all this stuff, like trying to port it and where to port it. And from what I know, he tried. He wants to port it to as many storefronts and platforms as possible. So basically anything. But from what I understand, the Epic was not interested or something like that, and neither was GOG.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, those storefronts are a bit more gated. Although Epic might be changing since they're piloting a self-publishing program. I honestly don't know how that works, but it is a thing. And just a couple more questions before I turn it over to my colleagues if they have anything of their own. But are there any plans, ideas, and so on and so forth that you couldn't work or couldn't make it work with this version of it? Basically, are there any plans or ideas for an Infinite Trap 2?
No, we didn't really think of anything for Infinite Trap 2.
Okay.
We still want to improve on this version, like the level editor, and find a way to get people more interested in the level editor. I think that's like the main thing that we like to, you know, push forward with this game. But nothing in store for Infinite Trap 2 so far.
Fair enough. Are you collaborating on a non-Infinite Trap project?
Um, Well, no, at the moment, Yannick also started working on a different game because he really likes Godot, you know, and
Right.
he doesn't like Unity. So this game, like working on in Unity with this game, was a real hassle for him. So he just wants to work on anything else that isn't inside Unity. So he's been prototyping a game about spaceships, and it's something with multiplayer spaceships, but it's not very. Uh, I don't know yet. I don't know.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. And I suppose to turn it over to you, what other, once again, non-Infinite Trap projects are you freelancing on currently?
Oh well, me, I have a few games of my own that I've been working on as a solo developer. Like, um, I've been making some educational games because at one point I started to actually learn programming as well. Um, so I have a few projects that have been started for a while now, but I can't really say anything because they're all like in a state where I can't show anything of them, you know?
Unfortunate, but maybe we'll have you back on the program when those particular
Yeah.
projects are ready to be talked about.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. I'd love that. Yeah.
anyway, Galax, Petty Fan, do you have any additional questions for our guest?
No, I think I'm good.
Not really. I've mostly just been enjoying looking at the game. It looks pretty fun.
Right then. So, Stephen, I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule and being with us here today.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. No problem. And hopefully, all of the future work on the game will pan out. You know, would like to see the level editor in the game. Anyway, the game is Infinite Trap Rehamstered. It's available on the Steam platform and I believe Xbox as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and it is coming in the future to the Nintendo Switch and apparently Android. So, and it's currently available for $9.99. And if you want to try before you buy, there is a demo. Like, granted, it is a few years old according to Steam, but it should give you a good idea. Or you can play the classic version on Steam as well. So there are options. Anyway, so that'll about do it for this installment of Fragments of Silicon. Be sure to tune in on Sunday for our review session. Until then, I shall wish you good gaming.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys. This has been great interview.
Thank you.